This is Greg Pass with the Americans in Wartime Experience. Today's date is November the 12th, 2022, and I am in Virginia Beach, Virginia at Ghost Tactical, Ghost of the Battlefield event. And I have the pleasure to sit down with David.
Khorguashvili.
What he said. David, thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So tell us your full name and where you were born.
So first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much. What are you doing? How you collect history, and then especially from everybody who served this beautiful country, and then overseas and the foreign countries as well. So I am Lieutenant Colonel David Khorguashvili. So I was born in Georgia. I served Georgian Armed Forces almost 18 years. And during this time, I hold many different kind of positions, starting as a conscript service. It was a conscript service, 1998, and then I decided was a little bit different situation in Georgian Armed Forces. I was from Russian influence. And then after revolutions 2003, everything changed. New government focused on more young officers to send them United States and then other partner countries, European countries, the military academies, to get their qualifications, educations, and then bring back to rebuild professional service armed forces of the Georgia. So I was one of those soldier who finished this conscript service 2 years. So after that, I decided to stay and then help my government and then to build professional army. I decided to stay as a NCO, and then when I was NCO, it was a new project to the military academy, create by the United States instructors, and then old generations officers who graduate U.S. Marine and Army schools. They came back. They established a Western standardized military education school. So I was part of the schools to go and study. I graduated.
And where was that at?
I was in Georgia. I was in Georgia in 2000 year.
I'm sorry, what year?
2000. So it was when I was I raised very poor family. They did not have. It was a big corruption in Georgian Armed Forces. So if you have like a family privilege and then money, so you can pay and then stay home instead of go conscript service 2 years. But thanks God, everything changed. But at this time, my parents cannot support me to go to the straight military academy, and that's why I was raised to went to the conscript service. They could not pay because it was a bad situation. No food, chain of command, or all other standardized. Nothing like it was all the Russian patient and then Russian standardized. That's why I as a soldier, I try since that time to develop, improve, and help to establish, transform to NATO standardized. And then it was a first step. Went to this academy after conscript service. They picked me up, so I went to the military academy Tbilisi, and then I had the instructors who graduate ranger schools, officers candidate schools, captain career schools, CGSE staff college. So they established by the help United States has representatives we call the Kubik group. Kubik group who was helping all this transforming to the standardized, and then they create this course. So all it was the first actually year course NATO standardized by the U.S. Instructors, helped to graduate and then send all these officers to all the brigades and units to change as quickly as was our new government requesting.
Is this kind of like the equivalent of our West Point?
Yes, equivalent West Point, but I totally different a little bit. But I was right now I can say we have a military academy. It's very equivalent that they also cooperate together. West Point and
Gotcha.
Georgian Military Academy. But at this time when I was young, and then after conscript service, I was totally different standards, like Russian moderate, and then all the instructors or officers, and then other unit commanders, most of them had graduated Russian military schools, and their mentalities and all activities and everything was absolutely, even tactics and then doctrines was similar to the Russians. So we all, with this course, after the course, at the same time, after was a revolution, the government support to send the most young, motivated officers and NCOs to Western schools. Most of them was in the United States and other European countries to get all standardized education and then bring back reference and to translate into the Georgian language and then build and change whole system. So it was a tough and difficult, but I'm so proud. Now it's one of the best standardized, NATO standardized armed defense forces in Georgia to especially fight shoulder by shoulder in Afghanistan. We prove it. We prove with the U.S. Marines. So we had combat experience as well.
Let's talk about Afghanistan. So at some point you became involved with operations?
Yeah, so after this career, I have a big, too many stories to talk, but the most important is I want to emphasize how it starts this operation and then cooperation to support ISAF, the missions. So with the agreement, our government agreed to send one company. We start from the Kosovo actually. It was a Kosovo for Iraq and Kosovo, but when we had a war 2008, so they recall a whole brigade, was a Georgian brigade participating. But after that, 2010, they decide to send a whole battalion in Afghanistan. And then I was one of the officer in KNTC training area in Georgia, Ksanisi, they call. It was a mild skier training. I was one of the commander to support and help our units who was elected for battalion for deployment. So I was teaching and then try to use the U.S. We tried to get the similar standards and system like you have here in the United States with the mild skier. Have you heard the mild?
Yep.
Yes, mild skier, because they have also the same similar training area in Germany.
Okay.
So and then we went to Hohenfeld. So they have the army universal training center. Before you deploy, when we have a training in your country, afterwards you going to Germany for 1 month to qualify as a readiness to deploy in Afghanistan. So actually it was the 1st Battalion was elected the 31st Battalion from the 3rd Brigade. And then I was...
what year would this have been?
It was
10?
Yeah, 2010.
Okay.
2010 it was March, April. So they had training by U.S. Marines. So they came, they called the GTT and GLT, like a Georgian training team and Georgian liaison team. The Georgian training team was coming for 6 months to train on the country in Georgia, so training area, and then afterwards, in the liaison officers was a team from the Marine Georgian liaison team who was going with the Georgian unit to deploy in Afghanistan. There was a liaison team, like the helping between United States, the regimental command or staff to synchronize all the operations. And so I was one of the team leader of the Miles Gear, who went with this unit in Germany to observe and help and then take the notice how they, U.S. Army, train and assessment and evaluate their unit, because we wanted to do the same in Georgia back before we go there in Germany. So then during this work with colleagues from Army and Marines, so they asked me to, if I go in Afghanistan, because we need you to go with this unit. So we have a good skills and characters, and we need you. Then I say I don't make a decision. So if my higher decide, I'm ready. So when we went back and complete this training, so they qualify. It was perfect done this mission. So my land commander asked me to go. So I say yes. I accept it immediately. I wanted to help them and be with them. And then I was appointed as a assistant and deputy battalion commander to the logistic. So they called the pre-deployment team before the whole battalion unit was deployed. We had team from each section and then each unit to recognize, and before the whole battalion will come. It was the first time actually. So I went with EXO with this team, and I found my classmates and comrades, the Marines, because I graduate U.S. Marine School. I was talking from starting to after my government decided to help the young officers to send United States or other countries to get education. I was one of those. I came 2007. I had my English was zero actually. It was a really tough to learn.
In 2007, you didn't speak English?
No, zero English.
So in just 3 years, you've gotten to where you're at now.
2007. Yeah, 2007. Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So my school, I had the German. English was zero, but so we had a 2 months preparation and training in Georgia, and then after that they said, "Oh, you're going to DLI, Defense Language Institute, which is located in Texas, San Antonio." So I arrived there, and I was 6 months. So I had ECL. I passed, and then I went to the following training and Camp Lejeune. I had the officer basic school. When I graduated, I went back. I was a 2000. That's why I told you there was a conflict at the time. Mm-hmm. So I went back to country. It was a very bad situation after war. We need to rebuild again. It was a chaos. It was all kind of
That was 2008.
mess. Yes, 2008, and United States help us again to the rebuild, and then consolidate reorganizations, other, all kind of activities. It was a tough. I went and then a point in the military academy as a logistic officer instructor. So what I had study here in United States, I translate. I do United States the system. How would I learn here?
Mm-hmm.
And then we teach the young officers from the brigade. We pull the platoon commanders, company commanders, and then teach them the American standardized and NATO standardized actually. So
Afghanistan. So you're heavily involved in the training prior to deployment. Did you actually deploy to Afghanistan as well?
Yes, okay. Yes, yeah. That's why after that.
And that would have been 2010.
Yes,
right?
2010.
And do you remember what month?
So it was a March.
Okay.
It was a March, as I remember, and then we arrived in November. It was a November. Yeah.
So you were there from March to November.
November, yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So tell me a little bit about your first impression when you got to Afghanistan. Where were you stationed at?
Oh, it was because of we have a not similar standardized, and then barracks, and then all equipments, and then all situation is United States. But it was still a little impression and shock for me in the Helmand province, how was everything set up. So we did not have a actually we did not have barracks. We had just a tents. It was not anything inside. It was a dusty and it was very hard. Mm-hmm. But we were very motivated. Well, like the real warriors, they like as much as you have a challenge, difficulties, you are more recharged ready to fight. Mm-hmm. So and then we were like that. So we got then step by step. It was a first unit actually. The Marines they wanted also to synchronize all kind of standards we have. We had the training with them, but it was still a little difficult as a first battalion to understand how your system works actually on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. So the good thing was that I found my classmates when I was studying here. So some of the officers, they were in Afghanistan. Oh, it was the pleasure after 3 years. Actually, I graduated 2008. So they said, "Oh, David, you here?" And yes, let's go. And then what we can help. So I say, okay. I have my XO and then other representatives and then all officers. And then we had a lot of issues to get all the equipments, all requirements. So there was the biggest problem was uniforms. The U.S. issued the uniforms, and then boots actually was not like a size. It was mentioned in messed some sizes the match, and then it was a tough. I was dealing to fix this, because can you imagine when you have a tight boots, how you can patrolling? Yeah, it was fun. So and then when was we were briefed by the General Osterman. He was a division commander, and then RCT commander. We were under the RCT2, the brigade. It was a colonel. This time was a Colonel Kennedy. Under the RC Southwest commander was a General Mills. I still have a relationship with them. Mm-hmm. Still we chat and say hello each other. So I met them afterwards, and we continued the friendship and relationship.
What rank were you at this time? Were you lieutenant colonel at the time?
I was a major.
Major,
No,
okay.
captain, and then became major actually. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, so they gave me as far as they see my commander to find the friends, the classmates, the logistic. So they gave me all freedom to start working with the logistic. It was the hardest part. So I was participating in Afghanistan. So we got all the requirements, MROPs. So we had a driver already trained the MROPs in Germany and in Georgia too, but still was a little challenge. And then when we got all the starting requirement equipments and then accommodations and everything, it was a tense actually. So we it was a 1 month prior. So the whole battalion arrived, and it was a couple weeks training there before they send the Delaram and the other hobbies. We had the Buji, Golistan, it was Helmand province. So after brief, we was looking at each other and say, hey, are we ready? Yeah, we're ready. It was actually very bad situation in 2010. I was lost every day. We had a funeral. All the Marines was dying on the ball, which was big shock and then big concerning for us. But anyways, we have to get it. So no fear. So ready. So we did not have a night vision goggles. Was an old modern, and we request they gave us each just a team, not each individuals. Like it was a hard to team commander just holding one and then guide them and following. It was a tough with the patrolling. The Marines said you had they did not want to involve the big operations like dangerous most. But we say, hey, come on, we are together. We don't care. We can see, we can fight with you. So, and we follow them. And it was the first mission. I remember that the Marines, they went together, so outside for the reconnaissance. And then my guys didn't have night visions, and it was a night. And then Marines tell them to, hey, stay and wait here. There's just a cover as a fire support. So we will go farther if we have a the contact. So just to stay, and then if we order, then you can support the fire. But so they engaged, and then as soon as they engaged, my Georgians, they just act immediately. And then the Marines, they said, and they told me, so we were shocked because it was difficult to understand the Georgians. You know, a small country. Some people don't know more about it, even about the armed forces. Mm-hmm. How we, it's very hard. And when they see this, then no one was afraid, and then they went and then helped and support them. They said, "Oh, we're brothers." So that was the first trust. We trust, of course, but when you are a warrior in the field. You don't know person, you didn't need to get used to it, how everybody acts differently, Mm-hmm. So but
how'd that make you feel?
So very good. We feel the Marines are my brothers, my families. It's exactly starting history and then all their traditions. It's related to Georgians. They are very similar. We like their tactics, we like their motivations. It's the same in Georgia, so we don't have a benefit. Our soldiers in this time especially, no benefits, no too much support from the government. It was actually no economically, ready to, they willing, but it's still hard to find the funds and then money to support the soldiers as they need, of course. But we had a huge motivations. So the Marines, we found that the same way. They have all support, of course, but like as a warriors. So from my experience, I did not fight with them alongside with Army, but I work right now. So the same. So United States Armed Forces is the best, of course, in first. it was the first great experience with the Marines, and then my soldiers also, when they see how the Marines are living. Even, America looks different sometimes outside from the different countries, and people thinks they just like comfort and they live like this. But when they see they did not have a restrooms, it was they poor job, and they do all kind of put in and make and put in back the rucksack, and then no comfort. So it was immediately love and respect. So and then so we unfortunately after a few months, it was in September, we got big because we changed area operation. So we went to the Sangin, the Musakala, and my company commander was my friend Shukwani. So unfortunately he died during this attack because he was guiding the soldiers, just was active, and then sniper shoot right here, and then I cleaned myself and my hands. So we lost four. One was a colonel, actually. He was a military police. So Georgian officers, mostly we are small army, as a small country, so we almost know each other, coming from same last name and our relatives, and we try to, even officers, to engage and encourage them to fight with them and go to the patrolling and stuff. And that was one of the day that they got bad luck when it was first the fire. They found all the tranches left from Russia when they had a war in Afghanistan. So, and then they thought that was a nice concealment to lay down from the tranche, and then it was a booby trap. So actually they put a big ID. So they pressed there, the four people, and then boom. So we lost. It was a big loss in my time. So one of two was my friend. This colonel was from my region in Georgia. I knew him very well. But anyways, so we understand it was a combat. But good thing is too, it was just less, 4 people actually, and then second and third they had no lost, and afterwards it was a big attack. 2011, or I don't remember, was 9-10 people die. I don't know if you have heard. It was a big attack on the base. We lost a lot of Georgians during this combat in Afghanistan, and we have a lot of wounded soldiers. So one of those, my friend, very good friend, he was a battalion commander, and this time 31st Battalion Commander Colonel Alex Turushi. So he sacrificed. He's amputee. He was in a patrol with his soldier, and then he just pressed the ID and then lost his both leg. So yeah, a lot of bad things, and good thing is to our armed forces get most experience than we had with the Russia in 5 days. We got experience, of course. We are always most of older generations has more experience with the Russian. We are fighting, but so the young generation, I think, to standardize and synchronize with NATO forces was a best experience. Unfortunately, with the sacrifice, but we got our defense forces right now as most capable and standardized among the former Soviet Union countries and then region and Eastern Europe. So that's why we always learn the lessons from the Afghanistan for the combat, and then always appreciate and respect our brothers, the Marines, fighting shoulder by shoulder.
So to make sure I got this right. So you were in 2010. Were you in Helmand Province that whole time?
I was a Herat for 1 month also because I was a liaison officer between Italian forces and Georgia, because Georgia has Buji Golestan. It was a FOBs up the north, and then they decide we have to move on a change area operation to Sangin Musakala, the more north. They decide to give this mission to the Italian forces. So all these European countries, Italy, Spain, and other forces were in Herat. They call the Herat province.
Okay.
So they send me the Herat province to help from the staff to take over this position.
Gotcha.
And
so, what bases were you at? Were you, I assume, several bases?
Yes, several bases. I was everywhere actually, but mostly stationed in Leatherneck. Okay. They call the Leatherneck in Delaram. Delaram and Leatherneck. So most of our unit and staff, COC was in a Delaram, but the elements who support them was a Leatherneck. But they're moving around. I was in convoys, logistic convoys, all kind of activities there.
And you said there's one brigade that was over there at a time?
No, one brigade was in Iraq.
In Iraq.
So
okay.
yeah, okay. in Iraq before war, 2008.
Okay.
And then when they start war, they hold the brigade. They send back their stations and then engaged enemy. But it was a 5-day war actually, so things got to survive.
Let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So 9/11. So that would have been you entered into military service in '98. So you were in the military
yes,
during
9/11. I was yeah.
Do you remember how you heard about the attack?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was an alarm actually. We had an alarm. I did to my soldiers. I was in a Ksanisi training area. We had a unit from US as well at this time. They're working with our forces. So we felt like attacked because we remember 2008 and we remember 2004. We remember in 1990. It's all kind of war we had with Russia. It's always reminds you, even now in Ukraine. So it reminds you and then feel same way. And especially country we love so much, and Georgians, because each family, all of the Georgians believe that 2008 United States saved Georgia from Russia. And I was shocked. Was a shock when we heard about 9/11. So we called all the units and then all the soldiers. So it was a alarm and then stand by. So any kind of mission, any kind of order, we were ready.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever envision at that time that you were going to find yourself on the battlefield in Afghanistan?
Yes. Analysis and then when you military always planning might happen, most likely plan. Mm-hmm. Was concerning about to fight the terrorists. It's gonna be the first there. Mm-hmm. And then we warning actually. It was not any scarce or anything. So we were motivated. My government asked, and then many times, and then all the soldiers. It was not. It was volunteer, but everyone was volunteer, whole army, to go and then fight alongside with the world actually against the terrorists, especially America, because we're friends, and then our brothers, sisters, helping us in the government, and we were ready. So that's why we make alarm, and then every soldiers, servicemen, was ready for any mission.
Were you married during your deployment to Afghanistan?
Yeah, so it's another story. Yeah, I was married at this time. It was difficult. You touch my more sensitive history. So we didn't have a. Well, I married 2007, and when I went to Afghanistan, so we tried to have a kid. It was a little bit like infertility treatment in this time. So when they told me you have to go to Afghanistan, I had a package treatment to plan to have a baby. So, and then I told my wife, you know how world needs me. So this is, I think, we'll love to have a, baby love, but it's most important to go and support my soldiers and my friends, and then we're gonna have. I will return back, I'm sure, safer. And then at this time, I was building the church. So and then I was a little bit more funding and then salary to be able to help also to build and finish. And then I say priorities to complete the church. I start building, and then anyways I have to go there. It's gonna be more income to help to finish this, and then we're gonna have a baby too. So it was a very tough for my wife first time, but he knew me. Before married, I told, living in this environment around enemies, big Russian enemies, you never know when they attack. And then I asked, you ready to even die? So because I'm soldier, I never changed. I never get out from the service. I have to serve my country and die even proudly if necessary. And then, can you handle it? And that's why she said yes, and then married. And then no doubt after that was decision to go in Afghanistan. And then so it was a easy because she knew before everything. I was always talking with this situation, So train her, let's say. She's a tough. She's my good friend, and she understands what I'm doing and why I'm doing. And I throw all the medication, and I went to Afghanistan. So thanks God, I blow up one time in Emirates, but I survived.
Oh, you got hit in an Emirates?
Yes, I was a convoy. So we were lucky. It was a fuel vehicle in front. So and then did not blast it. So we survived. But our Embraer blasted. So thanks, the Embraer vehicle is so armed and then very safe. So we survived, everybody. So little damages, but it's nothing crazy. One guy broke their leg, and then we called them medevac, and then they got the help. So it was easy.
So how did you communicate with your wife when you were overseas?
So it was iridium, iridium phones, and then we had and my staff, and then we had a chance to call once in a while, and also social media. It was a leatherneck base, special internet cafe place that all the soldiers, U.S. Marines and Georgian soldiers, everybody can have access to go. It was a just hour or so because we don't have a time actually to chat every day. But so we just say, hey, we are okay. That's it. They just needed to know, and then so.
So what was life like on Leatherneck? At some point, I assume you moved out of tents. Were you in structures or?
Yeah, after with the first we arrived, it was hard with this tents. We stay all time in the tents. Then after we changed 2011 or 12, they start building the barracks.
Gotcha.
Yes, but in my time we had all the time tents. I lived with Marines and few Georgians, and then all the Marines, yeah, it was a little like a air blower, but still.
Are you eating at the American Chow Hall and everything? I
mean, yes, everything,
everything,
everything as a United States Marine has, everything we have, every privilege or every. Yes, we were so like brothers. So share everything. They had a good food or bad food. We had the same way. We had the MREs. When I was going to FOBs, we had the MREs, but who was stationed, the units, the platoons or some companies, and the FOB, they had MREs all the time. So it was a good time. One day, I remember I asked the Chaho and the S4, the G4 actually, and the staff to. It was a Georgian holiday, so do some favor to my soldiers who are always, and they were Marines too. So eating the MREs, it was a lobster. So they had a lot of lobster, and then I asked them, and then they said, "Hey, here you go, David. No problem. We can provide and request how many you want." And then it was I remember everybody was so happy. So they arrived in the hub, the lobsters, and they were so happy. They're calling and thank you so much, and and then yeah, everything we had as Marines.
Weapons. What were your
M4,
rifles?
M4.
So is that provided by the U.S. government?
Exactly,
Okay.
Bushmaster.
So you're pretty much equipped with just like
every single. That's why we were under the unit.
Yeah.
So it was a brigade, RCT, regimental command, RCT2. So
RCT2.
Yes, and then our S4 working with the G4. Everything, all the requirements. That's why I told you first. We had a liaison officer, like a Georgian liaison team. Was a team commander, and I had at least 10-15 Marines and the staff in our COC. Actually, they help each sections S1, S2, S3, S4, S6 to liaising and guide them to how to work with our the United States system, and then all the direction. And then we had the Anglico group, the fire support. So all the time we request the fire, so engage them. They sitting in our COC, so they support us. All the time we're going to patrolling. So Marines, always 2-3 Marines were with us, because they also make sure we call Medevak as a walk, all kind of 9-liner. We got this training, everything. We will work, but they still helping us if we miss some or misunderstanding sometimes. So we had the interpreters. Sometimes interpreters, so it's better to have a actually communication straight to the Marines, and then help you and guide you better. And then that's why all the operations was successfully. So they helping us. We did everything, but they watching and observing and helping if we going the wrong direction always.
Did you mention that you worked with the Italians as well?
Yes.
Okay. So what was that? What was your role in that?
So I was the help there was a general Herat, the Herat province, and then I was coordinating between Georgian armed forces, Marines, and Italians.
Gotcha.
I was a Marine colonel with me. So actually, was we were awarded our battalion. We saved the Italians' life. They had a on not the same way armed vehicles, United States, like MROPs, MITVs, and then other techniques we had, and then we recommend them to don't use the civilian, even they use the civilian convoy to bring all their equipments and materials, but they did not swipe on the roads. They always was connecting the drivers to the Talibans. It was always mess up, and then it was difficult to control all these drivers and then everybody when you hire to bring all the equipment and stuff and then to build yours there. That's why I was. They said I was a QRF. They cleaned, but I say I was doubting. You know, I talked to my company commander there and the Buji, and they say I don't think so. And the battalion commander also engaged. I don't think so. It was something they knew always already that the big convoy was coming and then was not safe. So I send them, I tell them, so send your QRF and then clean one more time. I am sure they find something. So thanks God, they were almost approaching the road that my Georgians cleaned. They found a lot of IDs against them. So, and then the general and then Italian forces give us award because otherwise they're gonna have it lost if they hit this ID. So and then I am distinguished guest if I go Italy.
Oh really?
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes, yeah, let's go. Yeah. So I parlo italiano poco. Yeah. I studied in Italy a little bit. I was going carabinier school.
Oh really?
And then changed. Then afterwards, they assigned me the different position, and that's why I couldn't go. So, when I finished Afghanistan, so arrived, and they decide to go United States, NATO. NATO has a two staff and Allied Command Transport Transformation, and then Allied Command Operation. Operation Command is in Belgium, and then Transformation Command is in Norfolk. That's why I end up this area, and Norfolk, Virginia. So I was a military liaison officer.
What year would that have been?
It was 11-14. 11-14, and then at the same time as had experience working with Marines, and I was in Afghanistan. They gave me a secondary job to be liaison officer between MAR4COM, it's in Norfolk, the same base, and then Georgian Armed Forces. I was coordinating all Afghanistan missions, all operational strategic level meetings or projects they had between Georgian Armed Forces, and then even MARSAG has liaison their component in Europe, in Germany also, who was actually responsible and then tasked for Georgian Armed Forces to help and train and equip before they deploy in Afghanistan. So, and then I had the privilege to meet General Halleck. He was first Marfor commander when I was first time here, and then was General Trayon. He was Marfor commander, and General Paxton, 4-star general. Paxton was promoted as a ACMAC, assistant of the commandant, and then I still have a relationship with them. So they're incredible. I want to take this privilege and say thank you again what they have done for Georgian Armed Forces. So we never forget. It was a big help all direction, because it's very important when you're fighting shoulder by shoulder. It builds more bridges to the relationship and friendship. So always I feel I'm Marine, I'm family, and that's why I wear always, and my family, my kids, everybody knows them, and then I still proudly serve and help them right now and then currently as much as I can.
So you talk about the U.S. military. What are you've been all over the place. I mean, you've worked with a lot of different militaries.
Yes, sir.
You have definitely have a different type of view, I would imagine, than most of us as Americans.
Yes.
What on the world stage? How do you compare the United States military to other large militaries such as Russia or?
So I like always straight talk, So I'm a diplomat right now, but I wanted to say straight. In Afghanistan, as I see, because I told you I was in a Herat province for 1 month, and then I was in NATO, and then I was a different European. I graduate also some schools in Germany, Bronson, and Czech Republic, and all kind of other states. It's short courses like peacekeeping operation and the others. So I know them. So I can see an education level, and then as I had studied there, and also operational when I was in Herat province in Afghanistan, and in NATO strategical level. I'm not telling because I am here, and then I very love the Marines, but United States Armed Forces is number one, because your standards and traditions and the people, which very important, the supports and help them to shape and keep the standardized always. When I first came here as a foreign military, even now, every single civilian says thank you for your service, which means as a warrior, you know, always shape, always ready. And then not only this, and government supports, because everybody needs to help to don't be oriented and focus on your family who's going to take care about, because you have to be more educated and study and then intelligent. Military is everything, all components to be right soldier and then officer or military. So that's why your government has great support, and the people support as well. And then you have a cycle. When you get out from retirements, you're going to civilian job, and civilian job, any organizations, any branch you work, you always still support the military. That's why this country is how can I say, it's for this the military. Military is everything. And then other countries are more, especially now. I want to tell also what I see is different between when I was studying here, 2007, what I see, and then I was in Afghanistan, and now. So as all the whole world is changing, and after especially COVID, everybody is more like depend on electronic, and then working from home, and the social and activities is less than it should be. And then I think in America, what I see, and I teach also right now, I'm working with the U.S. government and helping them. I always say you need to get more education. You need to learn more, because this country needs more educated American citizens and Americans and young generation to understand a core and a role of this country on the world. Right now, it's a proof. Without United States help and support, this devil and then Russian terrorists are spreading and holding hold of the world. That's why this country needs more support from each individual, and then each parents and young generation. They should learn and tell every day, every moment. They have to be proud to be born in the United States and kissing every day in the morning or evening and in the ground. And then the more patriotic, more educational, as much as you know, as much more appreciate your country. I say sometimes makes me worry when I see the more disappointing. They request they have a more, but they want a more. It means you don't want to do yourself more, and you need to get more benefit from government or from somebody. You have to contribute. This country needs to contribute and hard working to keep America great always. And recently, young generation, what I see, just concerning I have, it's a more soft. They are more soft because I'm working on the level. So I create up for enemies in a fight. So they are difficult to make a decision. They are soft to kill and shoot or talking. They need more diplomatic way. They need more education to know from your countries, because nowadays you are working and deploy abroad. You have to know his president. You need to know the politics. You need to know all history and everything before you deploy, because you are United States flag carrier. You are consular. You are ambassador where you go, because it's not only here in this country. Anybody needs to know more. Even citizens, they like vacation, take care in Italy or take care in Europe. You should be the American different, because you deserve, this country deserves to all the citizens be proud. They are proud because government support as much as they can. None of the government and no one is gives this support and then abilities to build your career and then find your way. So even my country and different countries, it's not like this. So it's a blessed country. If each individual don't analyze and realize where they are coming from and appreciate what they have right now, the future is a little fear. So anywhere I go, anywhere, talking anybody, sometimes they might think is crazy, but I always bring these issues. Sometimes makes me worried. They look at you like if you're talking as a patriotism and then about the country, they don't like. It's better to talk about playing games and musics or something. I understand, but it should be the first topic. And when you start, they just answer you formally, and that's it. I don't see here. That's a problem I see in this country. So I need the schools. My kids always teaching, and I let them to end them always. They sing the anthem to understand Civil War, all the wars and the histories. Because when you teach, it's not enough in the school. All the parents have to do as much as they can at home. Because when you teach them history and then give them right way, what country's role is, they raise the patriots and they raise more respectfully and do the more. They don't be lazy to work, because when you're raising this kid, you want it to work. You have to honor. It's a honor to work hard for this country. So in order to pay taxes and do this and tax, pay soldiers, and to keep this country great. And yeah, this otherwise, this is a land of opportunities. So anybody who has enough smart and has the ability to manage and maintain themselves to read and study, you can reach anything. Even I am immigrant. I have a business. When I arrived, I working with the government and helping, like my profession is military, but I had a time, I was thinking, what should I do? I say, I love this country so much. I wanted to do something to help and contribute. And then I wanted to become nurse and then serve the people who really wants to serve. But it was a difficult. You have to pass all the 4 years, and my education didn't give me enough, like, you know, even bachelor, and mostly didn't give you the even medical field enough. And then it was difficult for me to start 4 years. And then I was looking for how replace this. And then I had a friend who has the medical transportation, and then he said, David, it's similar medical field, try. So I tried, and then now I help the elder people from nursing home to transport to the dialysis, doctor's appointments, and then I treat them like my father and mother, and then I'm so happy and grateful, and then raising and extend my business, and then also at the same time I support the military. So I'm very happy to be here, and then I'm ready to serve this country as much as I can, fool my family and then friends who is around me. All about we do Eastern European team right now. This is our big we cannot pay back what this country has done for my country, but it's a little contribution to do what we do right now.
So, last question. Obviously, we're videotaping this, and you're going to receive a copy of the video in a few weeks. I hope that you burn some copies and
Yes.
put them in the safe, and maybe 100 years from now, your great-great-great-grandkids might stumble upon the video.
Yes.
What would you want them to know about your service to your home country as well as the United States? What would you want them to know?
So first of all, I need to know to be honor, and then follow my passion, and then my sacrifice, what I have done for my countries I'm doing here. This is, I always say, and home and homeland. My homeland is Georgia. My home is United States. So it's always need to continue traditions. If you don't focus on and love this country, you never appreciate your father's coming, because your father or I will be grandfather, the generation. This country sheltered me. I need to, they know, to serve all my following generation honorably, at least each individual, the boys or girls from the generation, to serve this country. I have to leave this wheel before I die to each individual, from my son, his son and son, at least one person serve this country, because this country saved me and gives me all kind of opportunities. And then I love and then always be ready to die for this country. And then I wanted to pass this message to my following generation.
Well said. David, it's been a pleasure to sit down and speak
Thanks
with
so
you.
much.
You spoke very eloquently.
Yeah.
It's an honor to meet you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for your service.
It was a big, yes, thank you so much.